This wasn't supposed to get out. Coordinates: 36.2048 degrees north, 138.2529 degrees east. A remote patch of mountain in central Japan, quiet, untouched, forgotten. Until the satellites noticed something strange, a heat signature bleeding through solid rock in a region with no geothermal activity. And then, 3 months later, that same forest vanished, replaced by a slope too perfect to be natural. I wasn't supposed to see that feed. Most Americans never will. I had clearance once. Level 4 structural access, Department of Energy contractor, 22 years working the Pacific Corridor. So when an old contact at Lockheed dropped a single frame into my inbox, he added just one line. They finally did it. Japan, quiet, precise Japan, has built something the world was not meant to see. Not a factory, not a transit line, not a research facility. This is bigger. A project whispered in elite engineering circles for years, always dismissed as rumor. Too expensive, too complex, too politically dangerous. And yet, there it was, carved into a mountain, hidden where no US mapping team had surveyed in over a decade. The worst part? We weren't even watching. When whispers finally reached Washington, it was already too late. Japan had moved in silence, funding funneled through harmless-sounding programs, cultural revitalization, environmental preservation, earthquake resilience, all disguises, all strategic misdirection. Because behind those polite labels, there sits a megastructure worth $450 billion. Built with such logistical precision, it makes the Panama Canal look like a ditch. And what it enables will shift global influence faster than any aircraft carrier, space program, or semiconductor bill we have ever drafted. I have only seen fragments, blueprint overlays, seismic irregularities, procurement manifests written in coded Mitsubishi shorthand. But every piece leads to one truth. Japan has built something the US cannot match. Not now, maybe not ever. It all started to make sense after one meeting. Last summer, I flew to Tokyo. It was a standard consulting gig, a transport resilience study. But on day 3, a Mitsubishi engineer, in his late 60s, posture like a samurai, pulled me aside. His hands were trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of something he had carried for too long. He asked if I still built in America. I nodded. He looked down and said, "They used to build together, and now you observe while we finish." I did not understand until I saw what they were building. His words hit like rebar through concrete. Japan never stopped building. While the world saw polite trains and tidy budgets, beneath the surface something else was growing. A generation of engineers who never forgot the war, a culture obsessed with precision, and a government that learned to innovate in silence. Sometime in the early 2010s, they began pouring resources, first small then massive, into a single initiative, the Mountain Project. The chamber, the quiet tunnel, euphemisms, reverent whispers, spoken only in tones reserved for sacred relics. But it was not until 2024 that US intelligence caught a clue. I wish I could tell you the US caught on in time, that our analysts flagged the signs, that someone filed the right report before it was too late. But the truth is much simpler and uglier. We were not watching, not until the ground was already sealed. By the time Washington realized what Japan had constructed, the outer shell of the mountain facility had already been finished. For 6 months, concrete deliveries were made in the dark. Equipment moved between seismic lulls. Every shipment was labeled under one harmless phrase: earthquake resilience upgrades. And in Japan, that is so routine, no one questions it. But here is the genius. Not the tunnels, not the chambers, the secrecy. While America televised every infrastructure debate like a football game, Japan executed a $450 billion megaproject under total silence. Not deception, discipline. One of the biggest intelligence failures in US history did not happen because of stealth technology. It happened because we misunderstood their culture. Japan does not brag, they build. When the first classified images hit the Pentagon, the room did not erupt. It went silent, not shocked, embarrassed. What they saw were reinforced tunnel ribs the size of shipping containers, corridors lined with tungsten core stabilizers, the same kind we use to anchor deep space telescopes, airlock-sealed intake chambers, pressure-rated enclosures more common in orbital stations than underground transit. But what truly scared them was what they couldn't explain. No tracks, no wheels, no propulsion system, just a long, silent cylinder. One of the lead engineers from DARPA reviewed the design and muttered one line: "This isn't a tunnel, it's a guided environment, a controlled system, not for people, not for cargo, for something faster. And whatever it is moving with no resistance, no friction, no delay." "We are not looking at transportation," said a retired Department of Defense analyst. "We are looking at independence." Japan's economy has always leaned on global logistics, on US naval presence, on Pacific trade routes. But now, they have quietly built an escape hatch, a way to bypass every bottleneck, a way to ignore blockades, a way to stay standing even if America falls. This isn't aggression, it is insurance, a silent system that removes dependency. I have seen the internal memos. I have read the engineering briefs from Mitsubishi. They never call it a tunnel, they call it something else, the continuity mechanism. It appears 6 times. Not defense, not transportation. Continuity. Of what? One procurement log listed something unusual: 40-meter-long carbon fiber barrels, internally coated with a thermal-resistant ceramic. You don't build that for storage. You build that to move something, and fast, really fast. This isn't experimental, it is operational. The younger analysts made the same mistake we always make, comparing it to the Hyperloop. But then the veteran in the room, gray hair, posture like he had seen too much, cut them off. Don't insult them. This isn't a prototype. This is a finished system. America debated high-speed vacuum transit on talk shows. Japan just built it and told no one. And here is where the fear deepens. Our intelligence teams discovered a secondary chamber. It is offset from the main chamber and smaller, but packed with bilateral suppression technology. A chamber designed to block monitoring, scatter signals, and kill thermal scans. You do not install that unless you are hiding something. So we asked the obvious question: what are they protecting? The answers are not in any file. Just whispers, just rumors, just fear. I did not understand the real message, not until I got back to the United States. Jet-lagged, irritated, standing beneath a leaking ceiling tile at the Detroit airport, looking up at a stain no one had bothered to fix. That is when it hit me. Japan's megastructure was not the threat, our decay was. While Japan carved tungsten-braced tunnels into mountains, we were closing factories. While they laid the blueprint for the next century, we were arguing over who ruined the last one. I kept thinking about the men who raised me, from the steel towns of Ohio, the machine shops of Indiana. Guys who understood torque, weight, and load. Men who did not chase titles. They chased clean hums and perfect welds. My father was one of them. He ran the steel line until it shut down in 1994. He used to say, "If it is built right, son, it will outlive you." But nothing we build now feels like it will outlive anything. Driving home from the airport that night, I passed a bridge propped up by temporary scaffolding. Temporary for 11 years. A detour sign leaned against a rusted guardrail. A hollowed-out factory stood like a corpse, machines stripped for parts. And then I remembered the mountain, the chambers, the way the old Japanese engineer whispered, "Steel sings when the code runs clean." The contrast made me physically sick, because Japan did not beat us with money or manpower. They beat us with focus. Here is what no analyst ever puts in the report. Every nation builds according to its wounds. Japan remembers collapse, war, earthquakes, economic devastation. So they build to prevent it from happening again. But America? We remember triumph, but only the memory, not the method. We forgot that triumph came from builders, not bureaucrats. And that is why their mountain is not just infrastructure. It is an accusation. Quiet, cold, precise. It forces us to face one brutal truth. They kept building. We stopped. The turning point came 3 weeks later. A courier arrived with no return address. just a sealed envelope. Inside, one flash drive and one handwritten note. The note said, "You should understand the next phase. It concerns your country." The files were not blueprints, not seismic data, not tunnel schematics. They were timelines, capacity models, operational benchmarks, economic impact simulations. And at the bottom, one line highlighted in red. Phase 2. International displacement begins in the first quarter. This means displacement, not integration, not cooperation, not shared growth. Japan does not need our ports, carriers, trade routes, or approval. The world, hungry for stability, might choose them, because once Japan proves it can operate without geopolitical choke points, everyone else will race to replicate it. America will still be arguing about committee budgets for bridge repairs. Here is the twist, and it is the one Washington still refuses to confront. Japan did not build this to defy us. They built it because they no longer trust us. They watched our politics fracture, our infrastructure crumble, our factories close, and sometime around 2015, they made a quiet decision. If America falls behind, Japan will not fall with us. That is what the mountain is, a lifeboat, a vault, an ark, not to escape disaster but to endure it. I called him one last time, the old engineer. His face lit by the glow of a drafting monitor. I asked him why build it in secret, why hide it from allies. He paused, then said softly, "Because we remembered what your fathers taught us." I did not speak. He continued, "A nation is not its leaders, it is its builders." He looked at his hands, scarred, steady, and then he said the line that broke me. "If you stop building, you stop existing. You are not supposed to know what I am about to tell you, and honestly, I was not supposed to know either." But on that flash drive, buried beneath the timelines, was one folder and one file. Activation schedule. The one Washington refuses to release. The one Japan will not acknowledge. The one that made the analysts in the briefing room go pale. December 31st, 2025. The date the system switches from testing to full-scale operation. What does operation mean? It does not mean trains or commuters or passenger schedules. Based on procurement logs, power routing diagrams, final intake chamber blueprints, this system is not designed to move resources. It is designed to move influence. A new kind of infrastructure, not roads, not rails, but a network only Japan controls. This is logistical sovereignty, a takeover without a single soldier. And here is the most chilling part. They did not invent the technology, we did. Tungsten stabilizers, we licensed them to Mitsubishi in 1998. Fiber composite hull designs came out of an abandoned aerospace program in Colorado. The load balancing software protocols were written by an American team, defunded during a budget freeze. We gave them the tools, they perfected the craft, and now the mountain hums with a precision we cannot replicate. But this is not revenge, it is not war, it is something worse, an ascension. Japan is not preparing to strike. They are preparing for a world where power comes from movement, stability comes from systems, control comes from who delivers first. While America spent 4 decades letting its infrastructure rust, Japan built something immovable, something that does not just survive disasters, it shapes the aftermath. The final diagram on that drive said it all. At first glance, it looked like storage, but then I saw the margin note. Intake rate, 14,000 meters per second potential. No passenger system accelerates like that. No cargo tube requires that shielding. This is not designed for weight. It is designed for velocity, for moving something else entirely. Not steel, not grain. Information. Japan's megastructure isn't a tunnel. It's a distribution weapon. Whatever moves through that system, Japan controls who gets it. Semiconductors, advanced energy cells, quantum-grade materials, even cultural exports. This is silent empire building, not through territory, but through throughput. Control the flow, control the future. I contacted the engineer again, hoping he'd deny it, hoping he'd say we misunderstood. He didn't. His face looked tired, older than before, like someone who had spent a lifetime carrying a truth too heavy for one man. He said quietly, "Phase 2 begins soon. It will change many things." "What things?" I asked. He looked at the floor. "Balance." Then he added, "We watched your country stop building. We watched your father's work decay. We could not depend on that anymore. But then he said something else, the one thing I wasn't expecting. But it's not too late for you. That line, that single fragile line, lit something in me, something I hadn't felt since the steel mills shut down. Defiance. We were builders once. We were the country that cut through mountains, raised skylines, spanned rivers with steel that still holds today. Our fathers didn't wait, they built. And now, standing on the edge of a new century, we face a choice. We can keep watching, keep reacting, keep decaying, or we can remember what it meant to build, what it meant to stand for something made of steel, sweat, and pride. Builders, because Japan isn't taking over the world, they're taking over the future. And unless we start building again, unless we reclaim the craft, the discipline, the drive, we won't have a seat at the table. The countdown has already begun. 30 days until Phase 2. 30 days until the switch flips. 30 days until the world quietly changes. Permanently. The mountain is ready. The chambers are sealed. And deep beneath the earth, the system hums. We were builders once. The story is not continuing. It's happening. Like, subscribe, and maybe start building.